The moment I opened the door, a gust of cold air rushed past me, far colder than anything I had ever felt on a summer night. It wasn't just the wind, it was something else, something unnatural. I stood frozen for a moment, heart pounding, as my eyes scanned the darkness outside. The porch was empty. No sign of the figure from before, no shadow lingering at the edge of the light. Yet, the air felt heavy with something unseen, a presence that pressed down on my chest. I stepped out cautiously, keeping my eyes locked on the surrounding woods, where the trees loomed tall and silent. The scratching had stopped, but now there was something worse, the sound of footsteps, faint but deliberate, coming from somewhere in the dark. "Hello?" I called into the night, my voice trembling. No answer, just the oppressive silence. I shouldn't have opened the door. The rule was there for a reason, and now I had broken it. I stepped back inside, closing the door with a trembling hand. My pulse hammered in my ears as I bolted the locks. But I didn't feel safe. I felt watched. The hairs on the back of my neck stood up, and every creak in the house seemed magnified. Then the knocking began. It was soft at first, almost like a whisper against the wood, but it grew louder, more insistent. Bang, 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 each knock rattling my bones. I froze in place, my breath coming in shallow gasps. The sound wasn't coming from the door this time. It was coming from the walls, from the windows. A low, rhythmic pounding. They were here, and I had made a grave mistake. I didn't sleep that night. How could I, with the constant knocking and the feeling of eyes on me? The clock had struck midnight, then 1 a.m., then 2. Time had become irrelevant, just an endless stretch of fear and uncertainty. I couldn't escape the feeling that something was waiting for me just beyond the door. Every minute felt like an eternity, and yet, I couldn't leave. At dawn, when the light finally crept into the house, I couldn't take it anymore. I had to know what was going on, what the town was hiding. I grabbed my jacket, stepped outside, and made my way toward the heart of Serenity Falls. I found Marla at the diner again, sitting at the counter with a cup of coffee, her face drawn and tired. "Marla," I said, my voice strained, "I have to know what's happening. What is out there? Why is everyone so afraid of the rule?" She looked up at me, her eyes filled with a kind of sorrow I couldn't understand. She looked like she wanted to say something, but she hesitated, as if weighing the consequences of her words. Finally she spoke, her voice low and measured. "There's a reason we have that rule," she said, her eyes darting nervously to the windows. "It's not just superstition. It's a matter of survival. There's something out there, something ancient. It lives in the woods, and it feeds on fear." I felt a chill crawl down my spine. "What is it?" "I don't know its name," she said, her voice barely a whisper. "Some of the older townsfolk claim it's a spirit, others say it's a demon, but nobody really knows. What I do know is this: it doesn't come for you until you've broken the rule. It's drawn to anyone who opens their doors after 10 p.m. It knows when you've broken it, and it doesn't forget." "Why?" I asked, my voice shaking. "Why does it come? What does it want?" "It wants to take," she replied, her gaze distant. "It doesn't just kill. It takes everything. Your memories, your essence. It's like it consumes you from the inside out." I couldn't process it. It sounded insane. But I had seen the shadows, heard the scratching, and now I could feel it. Whatever it was close. "Is there any way to stop it?" I asked, desperate. She shook her head. "Once it's marked you, it won't stop. There's no escaping it. The only way to survive is to follow the rule. And if you don't, well," she didn't finish the sentence. She didn't need to. That night the knocking came again. This time it wasn't just on the door or the windows. It was in the walls. The floorboards creaked beneath my feet, and the sound of something moving, something large, echoed from deep within the house. I could feel it now, whatever was lurking outside. It was closer, almost like it was inside my skin, a presence so oppressive I could barely breathe. The air was thick with something that smelled faintly of decay. I couldn't stay inside anymore. I had to do something. I had to fight back. I grabbed a flashlight, my hands shaking as I opened the door. The night was suffocatingly dark, the only light coming from the weak beam of the flashlight in my hand. The town was silent, too silent. There were no birds, no crickets, no sounds of life. But there was movement in the trees. A shadow darted between the trunks, something fast, too fast to be human. It disappeared before I could focus on it. The knocking started again, but now it wasn't just on the house, it was everywhere. The walls, the ground, the air. A rhythmic pounding that seemed to shake the very earth beneath my feet. And then I saw it. A figure stepped out from the shadows, tall and unnaturally thin, its skin stretched tight over its bones. Its face was obscured by a shadowy hood, but its eyes were the only thing I could focus on. They were empty. Hollow. Black pits of nothingness. It didn't speak. It didn't need to. It was coming for me. I ran. I ran through the streets of Serenity Falls, my breath ragged in my chest, the sound of something pursuing me echoing in the night. I didn't dare look back. I couldn't, but I could feel it. Its presence was like a dark cloud hovering just behind me, growing closer with each step. I reached the woods at the edge of town, where the trees pressed close together, blocking out the moonlight. I stumbled over roots and fallen branches, my flashlight flickering as I pushed forward. The knocking had stopped, but the silence that followed was worse. It was waiting. I knew it. And then I saw it again, the thing emerging from the trees, its figure like a nightmare made flesh. It was taller now, stretching impossibly high, its limbs elongating with each step. It was smiling at me, or maybe that's just what I thought it was doing. Its mouth was wide, far too wide, filled with jagged, broken teeth. I couldn't outrun it. I turned to face it, my heart pounding in my throat. "You were warned," I whispered, my voice hoarse. "You were warned." And then, everything went black. I woke up the next morning, or what I thought was morning. I was in the same spot, lying on the forest floor, the trees towering above me. The town was gone. There was no Serenity Falls, no cottage, no diner, and when I looked at my hands I realized the truth. I had become a part of the town. The rule was clear now. The town had absorbed me. It would absorb anyone who broke the rule. And there would be others, just as there had been before me. They would learn the same truth I had learned too late. Never open your doors after 10 p.m.